Welcome back. So this is the video that I've been talking about that's a little bit longer, but I've been looking forward to it. It's turning a pit bike, or would you say a pocket rocket, into like an e-bike or, electric kind of Tesla sort of thing. So there is a little bit of motion blur throughout it, and I hope you can bear with me. I can't really redo the project, and it's not really that bad. So let's get to it. So a while back my son had picked up this pocket rocket, and we tried everything we can to keep it running, and it just won't. So we decided we were going to take and make it electric. So the first thing is going to be disassembling it. Took off the cover for this little transfer case. Removed the chain and the gears. And then I removed the housing and the clutch assembly. Then the exhaust can come off. We'll pull the seat off. We don't need gas anymore, nor gas lines. In fact, we don't even need this engine anymore. And guys, I really wish it was actually this easy. Wanted to give it a little wash up since we have very little parts on here. Nothing too major, just get rid of some of that oil. On these treadmill motors, if you turn them the opposite direction they're supposed to, the pulley will come right off. Now I need to fit this sprocket on it, so I decided to turn it on and use a file, gradually get it down to size. This actually worked extremely well. And as you can see, it spins really nice and true. Now the shaft of the motor has to go through this bearing, so I need this size of the motor to be turned down to this size. And at first I tried it with the file, but that was taking too long and I remembered a trick. So drill bits are high-speed steel, and I ground one down, and basically I'm lathing this out, and that turned out to be much faster. This is a drill bit that I overheated the tip on it. So now the bearing fits on there nicely, and the housing does. As you can see, I put some tape over the holes to keep the metal from getting inside of it. I also drilled a hole halfway in between the sprocket and the shaft for a key, and all I did is I used the drill bit and I cut it down to size. I did plan to put a little spot weld on this to hold it in, but I actually have forgotten. This is going to go back together just in reverse of taking it apart. I needed to remove the rear sprocket, and this is what failure looks like, as 2 of the 3 snapped off on me. But on the bright side, if you want to see a happy mechanic, that makes a happy mechanic. So I needed a new sprocket for the rear, and I decided to salvage out this old bicycle that my daughter kindly donated. And then I can take and drill out the holes with the old sprocket, being as careful as I can to line it up right, and I'm using those drill bits just to hold it in place. And then I can attach that sprocket on the back. Now off of this different sprocket set, I took the small gear off of there, and I'm going to use that one for the drive side. And I did end up taking this in to get it welded, which they charged me 20 bucks for these 4 little welds. So now I can put that on. Also, if you notice in the background, I got a little filter for any air that might go into that motor. And now I can cut the motor mount down using my oscillating tool that my wife so kindly got me. If you don't have one, usually you can get one with a deposit. Now I can start mounting stuff in their place by putting the motor in, the motor bracket, and bolting it all together. Then I can weld that motor mount in place. Warning: these welds are amateur at best. Consult a doctor before the comment section if you're sensitive to booger welds, flux core, burn tooth, noob, or chicken poop welds. Sorry guys, a little fun there. So now I can mount the handle for the throttle on. And after flipping it over, I can take and put the rear tire on, mount the chain on, and then I need to straighten the tire out. In a little bit, I will realize that my sprocket isn't straight enough, and I will be having the tension set a little differently. So I put the brakes back on. I didn't need these blue wires. I'm not even sure what they're for. I just needed the red and black wires. I wanted to clean it up, so I took and removed all of the old wiring for the horn and the battery and everything else, because none of that's going to work anymore anyways. I was hoping to be able to get the speedometer to stay working, but at this point I didn't. Now I can mount the speed controller in here. This is a 48-volt speed controller. I actually found this for a really good deal too. I'll put a link below in case anybody's interested. And I can wire it up. I'm not going to get specific into this because of the fact the controller you get will have different wires for different things, so they're all kind of a little bit different, especially with how many of them come from China. And then of course I can do a little bit of cable management. Now I wanted another spot to mount this to because I didn't like how it seemed a little loose in there still, so I just took a piece of flat metal from the hardware store, drilled a couple holes to bolt it onto, and of course bent it in place, and then I welded it on. I'll admit right now, if you watch the video closely when we test it, I forgot to put bolts in here to actually mount it together. Okay, so here's where I address that sprocket issue. I took the tensioner off of the bike and I'm going to mount it on here, and that's going to make up for the fact that that sprocket's not exactly centered on there. I also made sure that where I place this I could still adjust it in and out. So now I daisy chained 2 battery packs together from a previous video, and I can give it a little yard test. And now for a real test. However, it's deer hunting season, so we had to try it out in a parking lot. We couldn't hit the trails. None of us own any orange, but that's okay. My daughter had a blast with this anyways. Chain tensioner worked out really awesome. The fastest I could keep the drone up with her was about 12 to 13 miles an hour, so I'm not sure exactly how fast it goes. Oops.
Oh my God, it's raining!
Well, there you have it. It was a little on the weak side as far as getting up and going, and I'm not sure if that was the gearing, the motor, or the fact that it's only a 1,000-watt speed controller. I'm looking at revisiting this in the future, and I'm not sure which of those I'm going to change, so we'll have to just find out when we get there. Anyways, thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.